Okay, cooling system. The cooling system is another weak point of this car, and it's something that you really need to kind of check into. If it hasn't been replaced, if you can't determine whether or not it's been replaced, just replace every part in it. Replace the radiator, replace the water pump, replace the thermostat, replace the cooling fan clutch. The fan is a belt-driven fan over here. There's a viscous clutch with it that basically like determines how fast the fan spins based on the temperature in the engine bay over here. So the fan should not spin freely if it's cold. A little bit of spin is okay like this, but the clutch is done if you go like that and the thing just spins like nothing. Okay, and the clutches aren't cheap. I mean, they're not that expensive, but I think they're like over $100. So, and the fan's kind of a pain in the butt. It's got a big 22mm bolt on it or something like that. It's kind of a pain to get off, but I mean, your expansion tank goes, like the thermostat gets stuck, the water pump goes or whatever. Bad things happen. You do not want to overheat one of these motors. You do not want to. Okay, tire wear. Tire wear is going to be something important that you're going to have to look at. Okay, the suspension in these cars, the bushings are pretty much wear items. It's not like a Honda where you just kind of forget about them and then maybe at 200,000 miles they start creaking and no big deal. When the suspension goes, when the bushings start dry cracking, start deforming and stuff like that, it starts eating tires for breakfast, and you can have other issues too, which we'll talk about as well. So what you're going to look for is uneven wear. Okay, that's going to be a good indicator of you know, bushing wear and issues with the suspension. So something to note: if you call up a seller, dealer, something like that, no, oh yeah, the car's got brand new tires on it. Okay, that's definitely a good thing. But, you know, it could also be a red flag that gets thrown up towards you. If you call them, oh, well, what tires did you put on the car? Oh, they're, I don't know. Or you get down there and they're like Fusions or whatever. If they threw like the cheapest tires that they could possibly find on the thing, I don't know. I mean, it could very well be that they're putting them on there to mask other suspension issues that aren't going to come up until you've had the car for a couple months, and all of a sudden you notice, like, wait a minute, why are my tires bald on the inside but not on the outside? Uh-oh. So just something to take note of. So new tires are good, but you know, it doesn't let you see how they're wearing on the car, as opposed to buying the car with tires that have been on there and got a couple miles on it. So take a look at this. Your major wear items that are going to cause issues with the with tire wear are the tie rod ends over here. Okay, these little ball joints, tie rods themselves. These are easily replaced. The OEM ones are like 50 bucks a side, 50, 60 bucks a side to get these. Okay. The control arms over here, you got ball joints. You got one here. You got one on the inside of the wheel over here. And then you have a carrier bushing back there in the back. Okay, those are the three bushings on the control arms. The carrier bushing over there can be replaced very easily. These ball joints over here are integrated into the control arm. It's a little bit different from the normal 3 Series. You cannot replace these ball joints without replacing the entire control arm. So if you go get a pre-purchase inspection done on the car and, well, yeah, the ball joints are shot on it, kid. All right, well, you can't replace just the ball joints. You need to replace this entire control arm. So, you know, and they're not that cheap. It's BMW. So getting under here a little bit more, we mentioned that there are 2 drive belts. Got the crank over here, okay? This inner belt over here is for all the accessories except for the AC compressor. The outer belt over here runs around the AC compressor on this side. Both belts are on auto tensioners. It's a little Allen key that you just pop a cover off over here. Just detension the belt, just pop it off. It takes you 5 minutes to replace both of them. It's fantastic. Common issue: power steering fluid leaks. Okay, power steering fluid reservoir is up there. You can kind of see it from the top end. I forgot to point it out in the engine bay when we were up top over there. But the lines over here tend to leak. It's not a bad ordeal to fix them, but you don't want to run the pump low and you don't want to run the steering rack low on fluid. So make sure that and it's right up there. See the steering line coming down here? Make sure that those aren't leaking up there, those lines. Alright, now bear with me under here because I'm not getting all the way under the thing. I didn't jack it up all that high. So we're looking at the underside of the car from the driver's side over here. Okay, what I'm zooming in on right now, this is the transmission. Comes to the back end of the motor over here, okay? So there are 2 motor mounts that are kind of up front, in front of this. They're above that crossbar right there. the transmission mounts are right on this little, I'm going to try to get my finger in here, right on this little cross brace over here, okay? So you got 4 mounts total over there. You want to make sure that there's not a lot of play in those things, because what happens is the motor is going to be turning back and forth, and you'll have too much slack in it. All sorts of weird stuff happens with, you know, the car's prone to misshifting. You maybe could have enough slack in there where the cooling fan starts hitting the shroud and blades start cracking. You don't want stuff like that to happen, so make sure that the mounts are good, okay? Again, you got them over here on the side of the transmission crossbeam over here, and then you got them up front of above that crossbeam where the motor is, okay? So now notice that we got pretty much dual exhaust. We got 2 pipes that are coming all the way down here. Got 2 catalytic converters. We got 4 oxygen sensors. We got these resonators, and then it joins in the back over there where the muffler is. So just something to take note of. It's not a cheap exhaust system. The hangers are about 80 bucks a piece, and they're not the strongest thing either, okay? Got a lot of heat shields under here. There's a lot of crap under here, so if you're hearing weird rattles, if stuff's rusting out, these are not low dollar fixes. This exhaust system isn't the cheapest thing, so just something to take note of. Another thing, big thing to look out for, okay? I'll see if I can zoom in on it over here. And you're going to have a hard time seeing it, but this thing is called the Guibo, or the flex disc. See that little piece right there? Or is that even it? Yeah. You kind of can't even really see it, but that is a rubber part that goes kind of between the output of the transmission and the drive shaft itself. You know, again, the drive shaft goes down here to the rear differential back there, okay? You don't want that thing to dry crack. So when it starts dry cracking, and it is rubber, it's underbody rubber, goes through a lot of stress, it'll have a little bit more give than it's supposed to, and then sooner or later it'll just shred apart. And you get unbalance in the drive shaft and bad stuff. You don't want any of that to happen. So that's about it from the underbody of the car. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to know, but I'm doing my best to kind of breeze through this. So this is that's that. Oh, this like piece of rust over here. That's like a little cover. The fuel filter is right here. Okay. So again, not hard to get at. Okay, so coming back to the back end over here, we're gonna get back into tire wear. You're gonna notice that my rears are totally shot. I've been having a little bit too much fun with them lately. Tire wear back here is going to be due to the rear trailing arm bushings, which we're going to show you in a second. But something that you want to look out for, very common issue with these cars. See this thing up over here? This is the rear shock, okay? What you're looking at over here is the rear shock mount. Alright, now a common failure part in these cars is the rubber rear shock mount back here. It's like a $40 piece of rubber that needs to be replaced on a periodic basis. If it does not get replaced, what happens is the rubber fails. The metal shock winds up poking through the rubber, poking right through this metal shock tower over here, and completely destroying it. So a lot of these cars, and I saw this when I was test driving, you'll look under here, and all this metal is completely just torch cut out, and like a new shock tower is welded in over here. There are good ways to do this and bad ways to do this. Have a pre-purchase inspection done, especially if you see one of these hack jobs on the shock towers. So one way to tell is to, oops, sorry about that, is to take a look at it. Okay, from the underside over here, this is what it should look like. Nothing weird, not weird welds or like RTV smeared all over it or anything like that. Okay, should look totally normal. The other way to tell is to go on the inside over here under in the trunk. Can't get back there right now, but pull the carpeting back on the inside of the trunk and look at the top of it. You know, check both sides, definitely. It's definitely something you want to be aware of if one of those shock towers has been replaced, and or both of them.